Let's talk fantasy today. And today we're going to go over the best picks in each and every rounds 1 through 10. I did the odd rounds. You did the even rounds. Welcome back if you guys are new. We talk fantasy football daily, 3 times, 4 times a week. My name's Cam, this is Aiden, and we're not going to waste your time. We're going to get right into it. First round, the best pick in the first round. So when we talk best pick, we're not only going value, but just like the best player you think you can get. Sometimes these players won't be available depending on where you're selecting, but we ran with it. Jamar Chase, easily the best number 1 overall pick. I don't really have to go over the numbers, but I will. 127 receptions last season, led the league. Was a Triple Crown winner, led the league. 1,700 yards, led the league. 17 receiving touchdowns, led the league. Jamar Chase, the easy 101. I think if it's PPR or non-PPR, I think Jamar Chase is your pick for the 101. I think he has way more upside than Bijan Robinson. And I think that Bijan Robinson is the only other guy that I could see people making a case for a 101. But with this offense being so elite and with this defense being so bad, I think Jamar Chase is easily the 101.
Easily, I can't really add anything else to Jamar Chase. Round 2, for me, this was a little weird. I can see him going end of the first, but I think he's more of a second round guy. I'm taking Devon A-Chain.
Yeah, I think so. When we were talking about like really this topic, I thought Devon A-Chain would be your pick. I think he definitely falls to round 2, and I would say 80-90% of drafts. Yeah. But I think people are starting to pick up on why he should be the best pick in the second round. So sell me why.
So, I mean, you're getting a first-round talent in the second round. He falls a lot of the times. Last year, he averaged a crazy 5.2 receptions. He only had about 4.4 yards per carry, but he wasn't really getting the workload last year like you thought he would. This year, no Mostert, so that goal line will be open. And he averaged about 15 fantasy points per game.
Yeah, on a very inconsistent offense, I feel like he has been consistent when healthy. Now, he's a smaller back, and I feel like people are scared about that. Now, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I like Devon A-Chain. I mean, I have PPR RB6 last season. He had almost 80 catches as a running back, and he averaged 17.6 points per game. If you get your RB, like, say you take, like, a Puka or Nico Collins in the first round, you take Devon A-Chain, I feel like that's an absolute lethal duo. I do think he's the best pick in the second round. That leads me into another running back in the third round, and I know we're both really high on him, so I'm kind of intrigued to see how we draft together. I know we have leagues together. Where Chase Brown's going to go, I have Chase Brown being the best value pick, not even value pick, the best pick in the third round, almost a 1,000-yard rusher last season, and really only being a starter for maybe 10, 11 games with Zach Moss being there. Now, Zach Moss, there's a reason he's not on the Bengals anymore, because he's awful, not because he's injured, but because he's absolutely awful. But 7 rushing touchdowns, 54 catches, 360 receiving yards with 4 receiving touchdowns. I like Chase Brown. And I think this Bengals offense, I don't think if you have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, or Chase Brown, I don't think you're going to be mad of having a Bengals offensive player on your fantasy team.
I love Chase Brown. I have him in Dynasty. I want to pick him up in every league. That's just how much I like him. He's so explosive. There's no one on that roster. And honestly, in the third round, there's 2 receivers I like. It's JSN and, I can't think of the other guy right now.
Was Ladd McConkey?
Ladd McConkey, I'm sorry. The only 2 guys I like, and again, I'd still take Chase Brown. I just think he's a great pick.
Yeah, I think Chase Brown, it's one of those guys where, like, if he falls to the third round, which I don't think it's a fall. I think his ADP is around that third round value of, like, Kyren, Chase Brown, those guys. I feel like they'll be serviceable RB1s for you, especially these guys who we really haven't seen a full season workload. Now, maybe that comes around and bites me in the butt. Be like, dang, I don't know if Chase Brown can carry a whole workload, but they didn't bring anybody in. Like, they had multiple options. A lot of running backs switch spots. Chase Brown's going to be a full 3-down back. So I'm excited to see who you have in the fourth round.
All right, so here's my first hot take, I'll say. Do not draft a receiver in this fourth round. There is no value there whatsoever. However, running back, Omarion Hampton, the rookie. I love this guy. At UNC, he had 1,660 yards. Crazy.
I think that was 3rd or 4th in the FBS, I think.
Yeah. 15 rushing touchdowns, and then receiving wise, he had 373, 38 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. But here's the thing: yards per reception, 9.9. College, but I mean,
in a John Harbaugh offense, I can't help but love Omarion Hampton. Now, the only thing is Rashawn Slater did go down for the Chargers. But they do have a great offensive line, and Najee Harris, he has one eye, like genuinely has one eye. Like, there's been pictures of him like literally like holding one eye or like this. Hasn't been that full workload, and to be honest, like Najee has been a 1,000-yard rusher in the past, but I don't think he's as efficient as people think.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason they took such a high draft capital picking Amari Hampton. I'm sold on Amari Hampton.
There's one more thing I would like to mention, though. There's another crazy stat to me. He's so durable, didn't miss a single game in college.
He's a bigger back too, right? Do you have
he's 6 foot 220.
So he's
great
a big
size.
boy.
So he's definitely going to get goal line, fourth down production. I could see him getting 85% share right out the gate.
That would be insane for a rookie. 85% would be crazy, especially having Najee Harris. But I mean, if you kind of take a swing, so like Amari Hampton, I think is a guy like if you don't take a hero RB, or if you take an RB in the first round, then you go receiver, I could definitely take Amari Hampton in the fourth round. And it's kind of crazy. I don't think you're ever, although he's a rookie, and I think that's the question mark on him and how much he's actually going to get.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason he's falling to the fourth round. But if he gets your even 70% workload to Najee Harris, and I think that he's way better receiving back than Najee Harris.
Oh, yeah.
So I like that pick of Amari Hampton. My next pick in the fifth round, now hear me out. If in the fifth round, if there was a receiver who last season in weeks 8 to 18 averaged 18 points per game, you'd think I'm crazy. In the fifth round, well, guess what? That's Courtland Sutton. Now, overall, let me pull up my notes here, but overall, he wasn't the best receiver for the Denver Broncos so he averaged 14.1 PPR points per game. 14.1, that's pretty decent. But when Bo Nix finally figured out the offense, weeks 8 through 18, he averaged 18 fantasy points per game in PPR formats, which is pretty much what we're all playing. 1,000-yard receiver last season with only 8 touchdowns. Now, 8 touchdowns is pretty much every other game. I could see him getting to that double-digit mark this season with another year under Bo Nix's belt. Weeks 1 through 8, he looked hard. Like Bo Nix, he didn't know what he was doing. Sean Payton wasn't helping him. He figured it out. And he's actually like, people are taking the Broncos to almost maybe win that division, go to the playoffs. Even
really?
I've seen got crazy stakes. So if you in the fifth round and you punt receiver, you go heavy RBs, which low-key I like doing, especially if you have later picks. If you go heavy RBs, I think Courtland Sutton is an extremely valuable pick. A wide receiver one in an offense who had 1,000 yards last season. I don't think you're going to find that anywhere else.
Definitely good talent in the fifth round for sure.
Definitely. Let's move on to you're on what, round 6?
Round 6.
Let's see it.
This is where I think the receivers definitely pick up at your flex and wide receiver 2. I'm going George Pickens now that he's in Dallas. George Pickens last year, he had 900 yards, 3 touchdowns. Nothing crazy. That's with Russ/Fields though, right? Now we got Dak, and when healthy, I just like to highlight Dak had a 36 touchdown season.
Right. No, we've seen Dak be a top 5 fan, and that's the thing. I love George Pickens too. Like we're both all in on George Pickens. We've seen Dak be a top 5, top 3 fantasy quarterback with just a year 1, year 2 CeeDee Lamb. Yeah. Like the wide receiver 2s have been Michael Gallup. No, has been Brandon Cooks, aging Brandon Cooks. No. Yeah. George Pickens would be wide receiver 1 on most teams. So Dak Prescott having George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb plus Jake Ferguson, and let's not forget, there's no run game in Dallas. They don't run the football. And if Micah Parsons isn't going to play, they're going to be on the field at all times.
Oh, yeah.
And from behind. In a stacked division, I'm all in on George Pickens. I know these stats that you're seeing on the screen isn't crazy. The one I do like is yards per catch at almost 20 yards per catch.
Yes.
That was a great stat that you pulled up. But the 900 yards, the 3 touchdowns, you're probably like, oh my God, why would I ever touch this guy? Brand new quarterback, the best quarterback he's ever seen. And he doesn't have to see cornerback 1 talent.
Here's my thing, right? You got CeeDee Lamb. He's going to be a top 3 receiver, fantasy-wise, and just in the league. So what's that leave for George Pickens? That's a guy that runs streaks down the field. And an offense like the Cowboys, that is where he eats mostly. Yeah. He gets all his points off the deep balls, the deep touchdowns. They'll be there. Let's
talk about another guy who I think could get a lot of points off of deep balls and deep touchdowns, who, again, has a new quarterback. That's kind of the theme that we've been going with, at least these 2 guys. He's Calvin Ridley. He's been one of my guys. I know we talked about it last episode, and if you haven't checked out the last couple of podcasts, check them out after you watch this one. Subscribe for more. So he gets a new quarterback in Cam Ward, who is known as a gunslinger. And quarterback, obviously, the 101 overall pick in the real NFL draft. They believe in Cam Ward, and I believe in Calvin Ridley because they didn't bring anybody else. They did draft their rookie receiver, but no one's going to top Calvin Ridley. And people forget that he had 1,000 yards last season with Will Levis under center. It can't be much worse than that. And his Dabble projections at 924 yards. Now, before we talk more about Dabble, let's dive into Dabble projection. If you guys don't know what Dabble Fantasy is, they are the best DFS app on the market. You can take more or less on your favorite players. They have NFL, NBA, WNBA, golf, every single sport MLB got, literally every single sport you guys need, they have. So you just pick more or less on your favorite athletes. Right now, we've been doing a lot of season-long projections. I will chuck up mine on the screen. I actually made one this morning with a bunch of different quarterbacks. But throughout the whole NFL season, those will be ran. So if you guys want to get the NFL Dabble projections in right now before the NFL season starts, use code All Talk Sports. You get a free $10 when you sign up. Most other apps, you got to put in money to get a promo bonus. No, you put $0 down, you get a free $10. Use code All Talk Sports. It's in the link in the description. So let's talk. Shout out Dabble. Let's talk more about Calvin Ridley. So his projections at 924 yards, meaning he'll probably be around a 900 to 1,000 yard receiver, depending on what you think. I would take the more than on Calvin Ridley. I'm all in. Again, I like receivers that have no other targets to be shared, right? I think the only other guy on this team that could take targets away from Calvin Ridley is Chigakonkwo, who plays a completely different position. Cam Ward comes in, and he can be one of the better quarterbacks Calvin Ridley's had besides Matt Ryan. And he's about 1,000-yard receiver last season. I think the touchdowns could go up, and the Titans will be on the field all the time because they have no defense.
I love that pick. That pick.
So I didn't have to sell you there, but you're going to have to sell me on your next pick because I didn't like this.
Really?
But I hope that you have the stats to back up Cooper Kupp in the 8th round.
Listen, if I told you, this is the thinking here. If I told you last year you can get Cooper Kupp in the 8th round, right?
Yeah.
You call me crazy.
I wouldn't call you crazy because I took him in the 3rd round last year.
Okay, right? Why aren't we taking him? Because he's injury prone, right? New offense. But here's the thing. We just talked about other guys that are on new offense that we're excited about. Now we're worried about Cooper Kupp. I mean, it's Cooper Kupp. He's going to get you, a lot of receptions, and he's got touchdown value. Last year, he had 67 catches, 710 yards, 6 touchdowns, only in 12 games, though.
Yes, he did average almost 15 points per game in the 12 games he played. He scored 6 touchdowns, which is somewhat, I mean, it's not crazy. It's pretty much every other game in that Rams offense. It was just compared to the Cooper Kupp we saw a couple years ago. It was like, a stab in the heart, really. And his Dabble projection is also at 774 yards. So on Dabble, you can take the receiving yards, rushing yards, passing yards, really anything. So make sure to check them out. But yeah, when I saw you put the Cooper Kupp into our notes, I was like, you're probably going to have to sell me. So you did a good job. Right, I don't think in the 8th round. In the 8th round, I'm kind of looking for the higher upside guys like Emeka Ibuka, maybe a Matthew Golden. But maybe if you've taken an Amari Hampton, a Travion Henderson, one of those guys who you're already banking on their upside, you can take a higher floor guy like Cooper Kupp, who will play the slot in Seattle. Sam Darnold probably won't be the same effect Matthew Stafford had. They had a real connection. But you saw what Sam Darnold did with last year with Jordan Addison, who was a great receiver, and of course Justin Jefferson.
Of course,
comparing Jefferson to Kupp, but JSN, I definitely think, and I think we agree, he will be the solidified one in this offense, meaning Cooper Kupp will play the slot, but he's better in the slot anyway. So we'll have to see. I think time will tell on Cooper Kupp.
Listen, in my opinion, 8th round, worst that happens is he gets injured and it was your 8th round pick that's gone. If you get vintage Cooper Kupp, you're getting 1,000 yards and at least 8+ touchdowns.
I think in the 8th round, if you can find 1,000-yard receiver and 8+ touchdowns, it's an A+. He could win you in your league. And I'm going to talk about the next guy who could win you in your league. In the 9th round, if you punt tight end, and you should if you do not get Brock Bowers, if you do not get George Kittle, if you do not get those type tight ends, right? Go get David Njoku.
Who are going way too high, by the way. In my opinion.
I could see a pick for Brock Bowers in the 2nd or 3rd round. Maybe the 3rd round. 2nd round I think is too high, but
that's where he's going.
David Njoku. Last season, points per game basis for tight ends, 4th. Playing with Deshaun Watson. Okay, he averaged 15.5 points per game the last 5 games with Jameis Winston. Red zone target share of 30%. And he gets Uncle Joe Flacco, who has chemistry with. He is going to be the number one, probably not the number one option, but a big target for Joe Flacco. I mean, he is the most reliable check down guy in an offense that really isn't explosive. I love me David Njoku, who's going to win me your league this year.
Yeah, I definitely like him. I had him 1 year off the waiver wire, crazy enough. And I will say, this guy eats touchdowns for a living.
Eats touchdowns. He eats targets. In a PPR league,
yeah.
He could have 8 catches for 40 yards, still 12 points, and that's pretty much more than 90% of all tight ends. So to round out the 10th round, we're going to stop after 10. You were really excited about this guy. You texted me yesterday talking about how excited you were about this guy and have him in Dynasty. So let me know why this guy is going to be the best 10th.
Let me give you a short story right here, right? I'm looking at the 10th round and I don't see anything I like. So I got to start doing my research. And my research sold me on Rashad Bateman. I now want Rashad Bateman in this 10th round. If he's there, take Rashad Bateman. Last year, and I want to put an asterisk, Zay Flowers was hurt. a little bit, coming back in.
Yep.
But anyway, 45 receptions, 756 yards, 9 touchdowns.
I'll highlight before you move on. 4 touchdowns came in the last 5 games.
Yep, that's where I was going to get to. I was just going to get to that. 4 touchdowns in his final 5 games, and he averaged an insane 16.8 yards per reception.
Yeah, I definitely think he is more of those boomer bust kind of guys. And like, I know I texted you last night saying he's going to run heavy offense. Zay Flowers was hurt. But the interesting part is he just got a brand new 3-year, $36 million deal. And I don't think you give that to a guy who you're not going to share the ball to. And again, you're throwing darts on a dartboard in this 10th round. So if there's nobody available who really is like, oh my God, I can't believe he's here in the 10th round, I might take a flyer on Rashad Bateman. I mean, he's got a great offense.
What year is this for him? 4th?
He's only 25 years old.
Yeah, so I mean, but he's been there for a little bit. Like Lamar's been playing with him for a good chunk now. They trust him clearly. They gave him a new contract. He's stuck. He's the one thing that's stuck. While he's not been the most production there, he's stuck. And I think at 10th round, if he's there with the stats I'm showing you right now, take the shot.
Yeah,
this guy has wide receiver 2 potential.
Yeah, I think the upside is there for Rashad Bateman, and I kind of think the floor is there as well. Like,
for sure.
If you're ever like an injury, and injuries are going to happen to every single fantasy team watching, and it's going to suck. And these are the kind of guys that are going to have to step up in your starting spots. Like, probably the first 4 weeks, he'll sit on your bench. But maybe, a Mike Evans injury, a T. Higgins injury, whatever happens, I can see Rashad Bateman kind of, and like last year, he's kind of like a Jawan Jennings kind of guy from last year, where Jawan Jennings came in and dropped a 50. I'm not saying Bateman's going to drop 50, but he has the potential of catching 2 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
we've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I have him in Dynasty. I'm hoping he explodes, and I'm hoping all these guys explode. If you're a fantasy team, if you get him, and if you do, enjoy this video. Make sure to comment down below. I'm going to read every single comment. Make sure to check out Dabble Fantasy today. Use code AllTalkSports, link in the description, and subscribe for more content. We're going to pump out 3 videos this week alone. That being today's video, best picks in each round. And then we're going to do players to avoid. And then I think we're doing a mock draft. You guys have been really loving the mock draft. So subscribe for more fantasy football content. You got anything else?
That's all.
Catch y'all on the flip. Peace.